Hi, I'm Lindsay Leinbach, and welcome to Marvelous Mindful Mondays. We're going to do the next 4 weeks on Mondays for 20 minutes, 4 different classes. I'm so excited to be here, reaching out to Shell Point Village and everybody else. So our 4 topics coming up today: smile more, worry less. Now I wrote the other ones down to make sure I got them in the right order. Next week, building resilience and reducing stress. Oh, that's a good one. How about the third week? A mindful, meaningful life with less drama. Yeah, I said it, less drama. We can be passionate. I am passionate, but we don't have to have negative drama. So we're going to talk about that. And then our last week, oh, this is a great one. Mindful eating, a tool to make positive choices. How do you like that? And positive change. Oh, great. Now I do this on PowerPoint. So let me show you my PowerPoint. Here we go. And we're going to go, oops, back to my class. I realized I do it on PowerPoint and I need to share it. Here we go, share it. There we go. And we're going to get to slideshow from the beginning. There we go. Okay. Now I think I can actually make this maybe my picture a little larger, but we'll see and how it goes. So here we go. All right, Marvelous Mindful Mondays. Now, just looking at Shell Point Village, oh, does that make you smile? Sure does. I've talked to a lot of people at Shell Point Village because I think some of you guys might know, but my parents are Sally and Wendell Leinbach, and my wonderful aunt is Susan Schmidt, and my grandmother used to live there. So I've been going to Shell Point since the late 70s, and I love it. And one thing I know about people at Shell Point is that the majority of the people are happy. They're like, I don't worry too much. I made it here. I'm like, I understand. So why are we taking this class? Because we're going to learn maintenance. We're going to learn how to maintain our happy demeanor and bring down our worry. And also mindfulness can help us pass on the inner wisdom. How do we pass on our inner wisdom that we do know? I mean, we've been through a lot. A lot of us have lots of wonderful stories and a lot of wisdom to give. So being mindful, which means being in the present moment, right now, without judgment, meaning not having this story, this repetitive story that we tend to have that can really interfere with what the truth is that's happening right now. And if we do this, we're able to reduce our stress and our anxiety. So I just want to show you, here's 3 pictures I put on this slide. One is of my parents and myself and my brother at Shell Point last summer. We were playing pickleball and pretending it was Wimbledon. The second one is a picture of your June magazine that happens to have my father on the cover, Ideas on the Run. He's an inventor and he's very mindful. He taps into this part of the brain that we'll be talking about. And the third picture is of the tiki hut at your small beach, which actually is dedicated to my grandma. Just makes me want to smile. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to close off this picture right here. So hopefully we can see this whole thing. This is the Reader's Digest version of the brain. And we really need to understand this if we're going to understand the profound impact that mindfulness can have on us, on how to change and reduce our worry and build up more of a happy feeling, and obviously have us smile more. Now, the lower part of our brain, this is what we're calling as a reptilian brain. It really regulates the heart. It regulates your digestion. It has this quick, real primitive fight, flight, freeze response inside of it. It never turns off. We all have to have it. It's the survival mechanism. It's going on while we're even sleeping. And all animals and all lizards have it. And this is why we call it the reptilian. Now we have the middle part of the brain, which a lot of times we like to call the mammalian part of the brain, because this has higher level of thinking. It has memory in there. It's where all your feelings are stored, how you're going to react to anger, how you're going to react to frustration, how your quick choices are, even how used you drove to work, or you used your golf cart to the pool. You might not even remember going there. It's because it's in your mammalian brain. It's already a pattern. It's already memory that's in there. Things that happened yesterday that you can remember, they're in the mammalian brain. Things that happened 40 years ago, in the mammalian brain. You might not like dogs because you got bit by a dog when you were a little kid, in the mammalian brain. We can live on automatic pilot between the lower brain and the middle brain and just go through our days. And as long as nothing upsets us and we have good habits, then we're a pretty happy person. The problem is that when we get activated into a negative response, worry, anxiety, anger, sadness, depression, and we're just living on our middle brain and our lower brain, then we cannot shift out of it, because we keep rehearsing the old patterns. So how do you shift out of something that's negative, or a challenge comes and you have to have some problem solving? What you go is to your executive part of your brain, the higher part of your brain. And this is where you have logic, you have compassion, you have empathy, you have problem solving. And this higher level part of the brain is where you can observe the world, which is mindfulness, being able to observe the present moment without judgment, without that past story. When we're activating mindfulness, we're activating our higher executive center of our brain. So, go back to here. So I love this book. It's Thinking Fast and Slow. And in this book, the author Daniel Kahneman, if I said his name right, talks about it as System 1 and System 2. System 1 is the reptilian and the mammalian brain that I was just talking about, okay? There are things that your brain just works out real fast. You don't think about brushing your teeth and then going and doing the dishes. You just automatically keep doing stuff. Your unconscious mind is always working on automatic pilot. It makes these very quick decisions and you don't have to put much thought on it. The problem is it can be very prone to error, very prone to error. So because you have past memories and past judgments, you automatically, those things influence the present moment. So example is, like I said, maybe you got, my husband was bit by a dog when he was 5. And so he didn't like dogs because it got into his memory bank. And he said dogs are dangerous, and therefore he would stay away from dogs. And he didn't even think about it. He just automatically like, nope, I'm not doing that. And it's because it's influenced by a past memory. Now, let me see if I can get my dog. I'm going to show you guys my dog. This is Buster, from Buster Keaton. That's why we named him. Buster is now in our life. Why? Because I was able to help my husband recognize that in his System 1, he had some ideas that weren't true in the present moment anymore. They were influenced from the past. He had past judgments of dogs. How do you do that? You activate your System 2. System 2 is the part of the brain, it moves much slower. That's where you're really like thinking. You can almost feel like you're playing chess or you're solving a problem, you can almost feel the gears in your brain moving along, right? That's System 2. That's where you're activating all that inner wisdom, just not automatic pilot, but you're really observing what's going on and you can make complex decisions. It's where you can observe how other people feel. Not how you feel, but how other people feel from their point of view. That's why compassion and empathy, when you're activating your heart and really connecting with the rest of the world, you're activating your System 2 or your prefrontal cortex. You're taking out of that automatic pilot. You're going into the mindful moment. Now, in System 1, there's a very important part of your brain, and it's called the amygdala. I'm going to call it Amy. And that is also helps you make those quick judgments. anytime that you've had past hurts, it gets stored in this Amy part and it influences your decisions. So we're going to go back to the example of my husband being bitten by a dog. That's in his Amy. So when he saw a dog, he kind of would have this reaction. He didn't know where it came from, but it's because it was stored. This fear was stored from the past, and he would have a fight, flight, or freeze reaction. When we hear something that sounds dangerous to us or threatening to us, then Amy goes on high alert. It's like a security guard. And there's nothing wrong. We all need to have Amy on high alert, but we can't have Amy on high alert all the time, because Amy is putting out cortisol and adrenaline, and it uses a lot of energy, and it's running through your body, and it really wears you down. Have you ever had been so stressed or worried about something, you don't physically do anything all day long? You don't do anything. You just sit on the couch, but your brain is like in the stress mode and you're exhausted? That's Amy. So what we want to learn how to do is tame Amy, okay? By taming Amy, we can tame her, get her a little quieter, not have her in that reacting, sending out all those chemicals. And we can then activate our prefrontal cortex, which is our system 2, and strengthen this part of our brain so we can make good choices in the present moment that's not influenced by anxiety, war, and false fears. Ah, isn't that awesome? This is what we can do. Now, why it's so important for us to do this is because the brain is always firing and wiring together its neurons. And this is called neuroplasticity. The brain is always changing and growing. Think of it as being like Play-Doh. You know, if you keep molding it, it's going to go in one direction. If you mold it, it's going to go in a different direction. What you think about, you're molding. So I have this picture of the snow. It's like the first time you go through the brain, it's like walking through snow, and it's 3 feet of snow. Think how hard that would be. But the first time you're making a decision going through a brain, like learning a new language or learning how to play the piano, you step through the steps. The next day you repeat it. Well, the steps are already there. The brain's like, okay, wait a second. I've done this before. Let me use those steps and reinforce them. Then the pathway in your brain gets deeper and deeper. So the more you think about something, the bigger the pathway. The brain always wants to use the least amount of energy, So it's shooting to go through the quickest pathway. System 1 goes down the pathways you've already made. So if they're good pathways and they're good habits, right on, great. But if there are pathways in which you are reinforcing negativity in yourself or negative in your environment, then they're not good, right? So in other words, if you're a worrier and you practice worrying, what are you going to become? A bigger worrier. So we need to learn how to pre-program, change our programming in our brain from the negative thoughts into the positive thoughts. We can all do this. They say an old dog can't learn new tricks. Wrong. So wrong. We all can learn new tricks if we take the time, the patience, the practice, and the perseverance. We can use neuroplasticity, and we can then activate, remember, system 2, to build in new habits to go into our memory bank, which is system 1. So we can go from feeling worried to realizing it, to shifting our programs into doing a different activity, and then instead of just sitting around and worrying, put that new activity into system 1. Aha, new habit, smile more, worry less. To understand this a little deeper, I just really want you to know, to understand why I'm going to teach you another tool, you have to understand a little bit about the nervous system. We have the sympathetic nervous system, and when Amy, that's my little red guy here, gets activated, the fight, flight, freeze response, and that part of your sympathetic nervous system gets activated. That's when your pupils dilate, your breathing starts to change, you might start to sweat or feel clammy, you know. Maybe you clench up like this, and then all of a sudden your neck starts to hurt because you're all tight up. Oh, that's because the sympathetic nervous system is in full gear and you're in that fight flight response. Now that's something that happens to all of us. So don't think that, oh my gosh, I'm broken. I got the sympathetic nervous system is on. It happens. That's just the way the body is built and how the brain works. But what we want to do is be able to be mindful, recognize in the present moment what's going on without getting all upset about it, going, wow, look, Amy is activated. I'm starting to feel sore. I'm starting to feel hot. And then we want to activate our parasympathetic nervous system, because what that does is bring our sympathetic nervous system into balance. To activate our parasympathetic nervous system is going to bring down our breathing rate, our blood pressure, our gut's going to start working again. If you're really stressed out in your sympathetic nervous system, your digestion gets all messed up. That happens to me a lot. I can tell I'm just not feeling good. But when you're calm, then your parasympathetic nervous system gets the digestive active again. Okay? So we want to learn to activate our parasympathetic nervous system when our sympathetic nervous system is activated. We want to be able to bring ourselves in balance. How do we do that? Very simply. The ABCs of mindfulness. Being aware, mindfulness, being aware in the present moment, right? That something's going on. Have that, I like this little brain guy who moves. Aha, I'm feeling worried. Then take a breath. Breathe in and release. Now, let me tell you a secret to breathing in and releasing to activate the parasympathetic nervous system. Breathe in for 3, hold for 3, and then release for 5. For 5. You want to have a longer release. When you do that, you can actually feel your body just releasing the tension and the stress. Do that 3 times, and you're going to then be activating out of the system 1 Amy into the parasympathetic nervous system and activating the prefrontal cortex so you can problem solve, right? Isn't that what? With compassion and empathy, not from fear, not from worry, not from anxiety, but from heart-centered. And then you can make a good choice. A, become aware. B, take a breath. C, make a skillful choice from up here. So let's do this together. We're going to breathe in for 3, hold for 3, and release for 5. And when we do it, feel that release. You can even feel your shoulders drop, right? You can totally feel it. Okay, ready? Breathe in, 2, 3, hold, 2, 3, out, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can you kind of feel the shift? It's that easy. Let's do it one more time. Breathe in, 2, 3, hold, 2, 3, out, 2, 3, 4, 5. Excellent, excellent, excellent. So a lot of times people say, well, Lindsay, that's great. I did my breaths and I don't think that the prefrontal cortex, the higher level of thinking, the system 2 is not activating. I'm in fear. What do I do now? Right now, I need to shift. Vitamin G. I got a new vitamin for everyone. Vitamin G. Gratitude. What you want to do, and just go, okay, what's the next thing? I took my breath. Think of 3 things I'm grateful for. Maybe you're just grateful that you live here, that you can look outside and see the palm trees, see nature. Wow, I'm grateful for that. Just look at your refrigerator. I'm grateful that I have food. And then be grateful that you're even able to have this quick course, all those things. As soon as you go to gratitude, what are we activating? Our prefrontal cortex. We're not going into old habits. We're observing what's going on and we're seeing the good. We're activating this part of our mind. As soon as we start activating this part of our mind, we start calming down Amy, start calming down the worry. Who's in charge of your awareness and your attention? I like this little dog. You, me, I'm in charge of myself. So mindfulness, being in the present moment, when you feel yourself going to worry, remember I can't get the word out. Remember the brain wiring together, firing together. I got so excited. The brain wiring and firing together, right? When We don't want to reinforce worry. We don't want to reinforce negative behavior. We don't want to reinforce our sympathetic nervous system. What we want to do is activate our parasympathetic nervous system and reinforce positive points of view so we can get to problem solving, compassion, and empathy. So gratitude, when we activate this right here, is our smiling mind. And when you're grateful, you have better relationships with other people and they have them with you, right? You build that. You have better mental health because you're thinking of the positive and you're relaxing Amy, but you also have better physical health because you're bringing down your blood pressure, right? You're bringing down that sympathetic nervous system through gratitude, bringing yourself back into balance. And when you're grateful, you're able to sleep because once again, you're shifting out of that adrenaline rush of worry and anxiety. That's what gets you not to be able to sleep, into a calm state where you get rid of those chemicals within your brain, you go into the positive, and then you can sleep better. It improves your self-esteem because you feel you have more control of your life because you're choosing what to think about. You're making a conscious choice. And of course, neuroplasticity. See, I got the word. You ever had that neuroplasticity? The more you think about something, the more you end up creating the neurons, that pathways that come together. So when we practice gratitude, the more we practice it, the easier it becomes. So, Marvelous Mindful Mondays. We've learned to smile more and worry less. And even the act of smiling releases dopamine, which feels good in your body. And when you smile and you smile to someone, you know what happens? They smile back. So then you give the gift of a smile and then they feel good. So practice the smiling mind, worrying less, ABCs of mindfulness. Remember, be aware, take your breath, release longer than you inhale, and then make a positive choice. And no matter what, gratitude, vitamin G, think of 3 things you're grateful for, and that will help you shift. Until next Monday, thanks so much. Bye, everyone. Thank you.